We just opened up phase 2 today, which is the gyms and everything else.
What? You guys have gyms?
It won't be till I think till phase 4. I think phase 3 or 4.
Oh, casinos is 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Oh, gyms.
I'm just glad the gyms are open, man.
Oh,
seriously. We're coming to Vegas, man, just so we can work out. That's crazy. What else is Vegas like right now?
So I just moved there about 2 years ago. So it's just I'm still trying to adjust to the heat. It's so hot out here.
Yeah, especially in the summertime.
Yeah.
Well, you could go and check on Cory and I have a flip that we're finishing up over there. It's on market now. You can go check them out.
Wow. What's the address?
6940 Delray. 6940 Delray Avenue. It's a nice one. Got a swimming pool, got a half acre, and and the neighbor that lives behind us is Cory. What's the name of that fighter that's behind us?
McGregor. Conor
McGregor. He's our neighbor.
What?
I know. But every time we're there,
what's a house like that cost in Vegas?
We paid $300 for it, and then we're on.
And how many square feet is it?
2,400. It's not very big.
The lot's big.
The lot's a half acre, and so it's pretty nice. And we're on market for $525. So cheap out there, it's unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Giving it away.
It feels like it, when we're used to Seattle pricing and Honolulu pricing, it's like, what? And then, but we got a lot of showings. So I think there's 3 showings today, 4 already scheduled for this weekend. So we're pretty excited.
Dude,
great.
Put it on a boat like they did with my house from FabMac. Ship it to Maui, put it on my lot, and we'll sell it for $5 million.
I know, right?
And we can all retire right now.
Perfect. Perfect. Let's do it. We're in. I know. Well, Cory and I talked about just keeping it and then use it as our Airbnb or vacation house, but Airbnb is dead in Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It is a bummer. Well, so
our buyer's canceling on us.
Oh, no kidding. Now. On the Maui flip?
Like
the Wailea flip? No kidding.
Yeah, I was so stoked to be getting that thing closed, but yeah, they had already sent EMD. They had done inspection. They didn't hire an inspector. They did their own inspection. Like everything was going super smooth. We were like, oh, sweet, no home inspection, because there's some things it still needs. Apparently they're not the savviest investors, and their CPA told them recommended doing a reverse 1031.
Oh.
And they were like, oh, we're going to have to pay taxes? Okay, well, then we got to do a reverse 1031, which means we can't do a loan, which means we need a sale contingency on the condo that we live in that we haven't listed yet. Oh, wow. We're like, no, that's not going to work.
That's not going to happen.
We're taking a stab at. We actually gave them Cory's contact and said, requested cancellation docs from escrow to kind of bluff, say, hey, we got other buyers, so you guys shit or get off the pot.
Right.
Here's Cory's number. If you really want to make this happen, he can probably figure something out to get your funding through the exchange company.
Yeah.
Do the reverse 1031 and just, figure it out. They just,
that's interesting.
Yeah, if they want it, they'll make it happen.
Yeah. That's a bummer though. In the middle of this market, that's the worst, is when people back out of deals. Yeah. So what do you think about the market? You feel like we're going to be a V market recovery? Or are you thinking like we're more like they're calling it the Nike swoosh? And then now I'm hearing this new one that people are saying that it's the W, where it comes back and then it starts increasing, gets better, and then it drops again and then comes back. What do you think out there in Maui?
Oh, you're asking me? Oh, man, I have no idea. I just try and I'm just trying to stay open to like all possibilities. Like, yeah, I've listened to all those theories, and you know, I'm just trying to make sure that we're setting ourselves up that no matter which one of those happens, we're okay. You know,
Yeah.
like I never try and set up to go all into that will be like grand slam home run if this happens. I just try and find ways to, you know, deals that we can do that will be okay. You know, some scenarios we might be super stoked. Some scenarios we might just break even, but we'll just be okay no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have no clue. If I was trying to act like I know what's going on in the economy, I have no idea. I know I'm seeing a lot of people posting first month's rent for free, which I've never seen on Maui before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you know what? I'm noticing that too. First month free, and then also a discount on the monthly rent for the first 6 months, just to get.
Yeah,
people
let's
to commit.
flag all those postings.
Let's flag.
If we all get together and flag them all, they'll be gone. Crazy.
It's tough though. We property manage up here in Seattle as well. And fortunately, every single one of our residents are paying their rent on time. The problem is all of our vacant residents, we're not getting any traction. People aren't moving because they're able to kind of stay where they're at, and they don't have to pay rent, or, you know, and then nobody is evicting anybody. So now we're sitting on these vacant units that are gorgeous and great rent. So now we're thinking the same thing, is maybe we got to drop rent. Maybe we got to do these freebies, but then you can't do open houses, you know, so you're just like, man, this is a tough time, but it is interesting. It's good stuff, but well, cool. Welcome everybody. We're glad that you're with us as always. We are going to record, so it'll be available on Facebook in case you're interested in listening to it again later. It's been an interesting market, and we're glad that all of us continue to do a lot of conversation. Some of us were talking on the sidebar as well, and so it's fun just to talk through the different deals we have out there. But we're going to do today, we were going to do something with our kind of our anniversary, if you will. Cory and I'll do that next week, just because we never really got a chance to summarize all of our lessons. But we wanted to do something this week that a lot of people were asking. We had 2 weeks ago gone through our deal analysis spreadsheet, and it's a little bit robust. We use that for every deal that we take down, and a lot of you grabbed a copy of it. It's on our Facebook page right now, KÉCŌ Exchange. So if you've got a second, go download it now, because we're going to actually go through that spreadsheet today, since there were so many questions. And this spreadsheet is incredible. It allows you to look at a deal, look at the comps, have two different scenarios on how you want to evaluate the deal, and then how the construction looks, and then how it'll play out at the end. So if you're near a computer, if you're not Greg on Maui driving around in his Porsche, but you're near a computer and you can actually download it, go to Facebook, KÉCŌ Exchange, grab the spreadsheet, and in a little bit, Cory's gonna walk us through, and then we'll talk you through kind of how we use this spreadsheet. There are tons of spreadsheets out there. We just created one ourselves based on the best of who we could find and what we found. And this one's really worked out well for us. So that's just a heads up. Justin on the chat has thrown in the link. So if you all want to do that, let's see, were there other questions? Yeah, that's cool. So let's start off just, thanks to Craig, again, a shout out to Craig in Oregon, Vancouver borderline. He gave us the great name of Leads and Needs. So anybody got a lead on something or a need of anything?
I was looking for buyers in Vegas.
Calvin is looking for buyers in Vegas. Okay. Calvin, are you a realtor?
He's getting in started. I think you're gonna wholesale. Yeah, Calvin.
Calvin's on mute.
You're muted, Kava.
Yeah, I'm on wholesaling right now, so it's been a small challenge finding buyers. What I'm noticing is that when I'm looking at all these properties, and I go back to when I looked it up on county records, I'm finding the people that are buying the properties and turning around and flipping them. So what I'm doing is, like, I'm going to the county records, I look at the properties that's been flipped, I find the people that actually bought the property, and I'm taking down the information to skip trace and maybe call them up and see if they'll be willing to do a few wholesale deals.
That's a great.
That's one way. That's one way I've been trying to find some buyers.
Yeah. Hey, if you're in Vegas, there's a couple of meetups that are really good. There's the Las Vegas Real Estate Meetup, LVREA, I think is what they're called. So they're pretty solid. I've been there. They're cool. A really good wholesaler and investor down there is Ryan Panetta. It's a friend of Cory's of mine. And
yeah. So Cory, I remember you messaged me about him. So I messaged him on Instagram.
Yep.
I reached out to him and I told him if he's I told him I was new to the business and stuff like that. He was real open about it.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, so he told me, he's like, hey man, if you do have any deals, you can shoot it my way. I'll look it through and stuff like that. So I was like, wow, I did,
Yeah.
Good.
I was surprised he messaged me back. So I was like, okay, get on my toes and start working.
Yeah, Kava, when you work with a guy like Ryan, who's got tons of people that are in his network and he's got lots of deals coming at him, the best thing to keep in mind is to see what you can do to bring him value. The more value you bring to him, the more excited he'll be to work with you and partner with you. Because you can only imagine, he get probably choke deals every day.
Yeah,
but if you present your information well, if you maybe even prepare a deal analysis like the one that maybe Cory's going to go over in a minute, just kind of show, hey, I did the deal analysis on this. I ran the comps. Every investor, it drives them crazy. Well, I should say it drives me crazy, and I know it drives Cory crazy when wholesalers come to us and like, oh, this is a deal. Look at these comps. And the comps have nothing to do with the subject property, right? And then the rehab is way under rehab. But where you add value is that you come in and you're like, hey, I did the research. Here's exact comps, same street comps. Here's last month comps. And here's the construction. I actually got 2 bids from contractors and, and that kind of thing. And you can add more value by saying, hey, I looked at what you do in your rehabs. And so I kind of looked at that budget. And so I kind of prepared a budget that aligns with how you always do your rehabs. And so suddenly, you don't become just this extra person. And I think Brada gets like 2,000 people he works with, but you become a true resource and partner. So just something to think about. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, that's awesome though.
I even offer to work. I even offer to help them out for free. I just like, hey, whatever I can do. If you need me to pick up rubbish or something, let me know. I'll do that for free. Just whatever I can do just to be in their presence.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. We'll keep it going, man. Anybody else have anything? Leads and needs?
Hey, Kava, this is Brian Leffler. I got a new woman who is had refinanced a couple of her rental properties in Vegas to the tune of about $500,000 liquid is what she has on a proof of funds right now. And she's looking to get into a couple flips. So I will message you privately here on the Zoom chat and get your information and get you connected to her.
Man, thank you. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man.
She's been hustling. She's been working with a couple of the KÉCŌ guys that I don't know if you know the KÉCŌ crew. But I can give you a whole bunch of stuff offline so we don't have to tie up this whole conversation, but I can help you do what Kekoa was talking about to set up packages to send to Ryan.
Yeah.
Solid buyers list in Vegas. Because I've been working with Jill a lot is the woman's name that I'm going to connect you to.
That's awesome, Brian. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
That's what we're about, is helping each other out and all succeeding. As the tide rises, if we all rise together, we're going to all be successful. Right on. Anybody else got a lead or a need? If you need the spreadsheet, by the way, throw your email down there, and then we'll see if Justin can email you that deal analysis spreadsheet if you can't download it from our Facebook page. You're welcome to throw it on there, and then Justin will get to it. But yeah, anybody else got a lead or a need of any kind?
I got something.
Yeah, absolutely, Greg.
So I mentioned our buyer may be canceling, but hopefully we'll have a backup offer coming. Anyways, we're wrapping up this project on Maui, so we're looking for our next flip. I'm also looking for my next rental property too. And if anybody is in the Maui market, we're also looking for people that wholesale. I mean, I don't really think anybody else. I think I'm the only person that really does wholesales on Maui, but we're looking for people that either are interested in wholesaling, want to work with us, or just anybody else that's interested in kind of working with us in any aspect, project managers, wholesalers, deal finders, marketers, all that kind of stuff. And last comment is my Bigger Pockets podcast is finally airing after a really long delay due to coronavirus. So Thursday next week, my episode will be coming out.
Nice.
Congrats,
Awesome.
Greg.
All right. Well, we have to all tune in, and then we all have to put tons of positive remarks in the Bigger Pockets forum. We'll be like, we want to be like Greg when we grow up, so we can all drive a Porsche around Maui. Well, that's a huge offer, Greg, that you're willing to help work with anybody who's willing to do some stuff on Maui. So if any of you want to have to suffer in real estate on Maui, then you have a contact to work with. And Greg's the real deal. He's legit. He works with Brandon Turner, obviously host of Bigger Pockets, and so they partner together on some great deals. So yeah, if you're a wholesaler,
I just want to clarify on that, because you guys kind of hyped me up on this call a lot. I'm just some bobo that walked in off the streets. Like I'm a total newbie.
You're not, Greg.
I have no idea what's going on. Brandon just happened to like me because I was like, let's go surfing. And
You live in your car, though, Greg. You didn't tell him that.
I got.
No, Greg, you know what you're doing.
Greg's a beast.
We appreciate your humility. We like
this world. He could take me.
That's awesome. Anybody else got a lead or a need anywhere?
Yeah, I got some stuff.
Oh, nice. How are you, Jared?
Good, man. Real good. Yeah. So we if you haven't heard from me before, we buy sober living homes, and so we kind of I feel like we got out of our own way. Like, we know we can't own them all, and then they got to have beds. So that's what I was talking about last week with the deals we have. We're in our infancy, and like totally, like Greg said, I honestly feel like in this realm on that, I'm working on our consulting agreement. We had a consulting agreement drawn up for these because they're basically on market properties all over the country that are leased out to Oxford House, on purchase. So, the investor realm that I've been in with you guys and with a lot of people, everybody's looking for off-market deals and value-add deals. We don't necessarily have a bunch of value-add deals, but we have a bunch of turnkey rentals that come through, 10, 15 of them a week. And so we can't buy all those. So we worked on a consulting agreement to where we can set other people up with those. So we have multiple deals that they need in Ohio, Arizona, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania that they just need buyers. Through COVID, they just need buyers. So we kind of realized we can't buy them all. So we're working on a system to connect people with those opportunities right now. So if anybody's interested in that and has a little grace for us fumbling while we set you up with that, I'd be glad to work with you. So,
Jared, you're awesome. Fantastic. So Jared's got some really great resources. If anybody's looking to try to take it up a notch and diversify a bit, it pencils out extremely well. So definitely hit up Jared. Throw your email on there, Jared, on the chat if you could. So that way anybody who's interested can look you up.
Sure.
Cool stuff. And Jared, if you're looking for a large home in Lakewood area for, what you're doing for the residents, Tomas and our team, we have this massive one that we can lead you onto. It's like 6,000 square feet. It's lakefront, lake access, dock. And I think the guy wants to unload, if I recall, under 700 grand. So pretty solid.
Yeah,
Let us know if lots of interest.
My email's there. Send it to me. We'll look at it. Sure.
Sweet. Hey, Tomas, send that to Jared. And then, Tomas, you got to meet Jared if you haven't met him yet. Cool. Anybody else got a lead or a need?
I have a deal.
Alex.
I need $300,000 for a dispensary in Alaska. It's a private money lending deal. KÉCŌ's not going to fund it. It's just the opportunity that popped up. 12% return to the investor plus 2 points up front. So 14% return to the investor for the first year. And then the following year is a set another 12%, and then an option to extend to the third year for a 12% return plus a 1 point fee for that extension. So if anyone wants to lend 300,000, 14% return first year, let me know.
How long is the term?
It's a 2-year term with option to extend to a third year.
And how's the operator?
The operator's solid. The dispensary is up and running. It's legal in Alaska, so
What's the
running
collateral?
money. Huh?
The Alaska deal?
Yeah.
What's the collateral? The real estate?
Collateral is the property, yeah. First trust deed on the property, and it's under 50 LTV.
Wow.
Yeah,
First
that's a good deal.
position. So you said first position?
Yep.
Wow. For 300 grand
Yep.
and 50% LTV?
Under 50.
Wow.
No,
How large?
we looked at that one. That's a good deal. If we weren't regulated by the SEC, a government body, then, we'd be doing that deal. But
So we can't. Are you sure we can't do that deal? Can't we call it something else?
we cannot, dude. I don't want to go to jail.
We'll park an RV on it. We'll call it RV storage parking lot with an extra building.
Would they be interested in raising equity, or is it just a loan?
Just a loan.
Okay.
Yeah, they want to hold on to the equity, huh?
Yeah.
The cash flow is strong in that business. Like,
Exactly, yeah. And it's hard to get into.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get into. But I mean, I guess the person who invests in that really has an insider kind of a scoop, if you will, and build relationship. And then who knows if that could become a possibility down the road. So
maybe we should ask Ranson, Alex. Maybe just ask Ranson next call.
Yeah, Ranson might be able to want to jump into that. That's cool. Cool.
May had one. May had a question.
Oh, yeah.
May Akamine, about she has a property in Kahala. Would consider lease option. Yeah.
Oh.
Renter lease option. Yeah. May, are you there?
She went to the beach.
Yeah, she couldn't make it, Cory.
I thought I saw her on.
She was on a minute ago, and then she posted on the chat. So
I'll reach out to her later.
Maybe she's not around. Sweet. Anybody else got a lead or a need?
Got one real quick. Just looking for a little bit of contractors, so some window install, tiling, some cabinets, and some framing. So if anybody wants, has some guys you like working with and wants to send them my way, like I'm looking for some contractors. So.
Brad, are you at a flip right now?
Yeah.
I was like, either you're at a flip or Brad, you need to do some home decorating. That's awesome. Where's that flip?
Waianae.
Waianae, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice.
Awesome. Anybody else?
For Daniel, I do have a contractor. If you can give me your email address, I can send you his information for the contracting work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Javon.
Thanks, Javon.
Javon's a good guy. Right on. Awesome. Anybody else with a lead or a need?
Hey, can you hear me? This is Joseph. Can you hear me?
Hey, Joseph. How are you?
Doing well. First time on the call, so it's great to see you guys and meet whole different conversation and new people. So happy to be here. But I'm in the Sarasota area, so if you think Sarasota, if you think Tampa, Florida, we're 1 hour south. So anybody, I would love to connect with anybody doing anything on this side, anywhere from basically Tampa all the way to Fort Myers, hike all into Miami. So if you're out this way or you're doing anything down here, would love to connect.
Awesome. Cool.
How far are you guys from Tampa?
Sorry, are you asking me?
No, Scott's in Sarasota.
Yeah, we spoke to him yesterday. Yeah, he's in a couple of days ago.
You guys must be stoked about the Brady move and the Gronk move, huh?
We got his tickets already. Call whenever you're here. Season
tickets already.
That's awesome. Sweet. Well, welcome. Glad you're here. Any other leads and needs? Other good ones? Sweet. Well, why don't we, if everybody got a chance to download that, or Justin actually was emailing it out as well. If you didn't get a copy of our deal analysis spreadsheet and you need it, throw your email there in the chat, and then Justin will send it out to you. So again, this is something that Cory and I have used for, gosh, ever since we started and before. And we fine-tuned it over the course of several years and kind of made it our own. And you're welcome to, of course, utilize it. Everything we've got is yours. That's just the heart that Cory and I have, is that we want to share and all be successful together. So this next little bit, he's going to walk through, we didn't have a real live deal right now to analyze. So he's going to walk through the spreadsheet just in general. But if you have a live deal and you ever need help just kind of taking a look at it and you're using our spreadsheet, then we'd be happy to jump on a quick call for you or with you, because we'll know exactly how to mentor you through that deal analysis, since that's the one that we use all the time. So with that, Cory, you want to take it away?
Okay. Okay, can you guys see the screen?
Yeah, you can see your screen. And then if anybody's got questions as he's going through it, throw it in the chat. And then what we'll do is, or just jump in and ask questions, because we really want to help make this usable for everybody. So yeah, let's go.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to run through this real quick. It's not too complex. And it's just a standard spreadsheet. Right. So I know there's some of you guys are part of Fortune Builders, and they have an awesome, they have awesome tools. Kekoa and I, technically we're part of Fortune Builders, although we haven't made use of it, right?
We paid the big entry fee though.
Yeah. So we go to the once a year Christmas or December Vegas event, but other than that, we got to make use of that membership. But I know they have great systems, great tools, just like there's a bunch of other software out there to help you run numbers. This spreadsheet is mainly designed for equity deals, right? So fix and flip, ground up ground up construction, although you'll have to tweak it a little bit. And if you're, burst strategies, right? So anything that has an upfront equity play, this spreadsheet can be used for. So, real brief, the first section here is just the property information, right? Just what's the address, square footage, bed, bath. If it's on market, what's the MLS number? What year has it been built? These are just property details to get an idea of what the property is. Is it single family? Is it a condominium? Is it on market, off market? In Hawaii, these sections kind of pertain a little bit more. Like we always check flood. SMA is special management area in Hawaii. So there's some areas that's designated SMA where if you are going for heavy permits or ground up construction, you want to know if you're in SMA, right? Because that might be an additional permit you have to get if the inspector comes by and kind of, makes a fuss about everything. So that could set you back a lot. So this pertains to Hawaii. I know California has something similar. It's like coastline, some kind of coastline thing, zoning. So whatever market you're in, you'll probably have to just change some of these, add or subtract whatever as needed. Where we get into this section here on the side, this is just notes for us on the property. So, how did we find this deal? Is it direct to seller? Is it a wholesaler, bird dog, realtor? We'll kind of make note of that here. What's the exit? What's the primary exit strategy? So buy, fix, sell. This was a flip. What's the asking price or the listing price? And what are we going to offer? Any tax records and stuff like that. That's where we'll put in the section here. And then we usually put a photo of the property in this section here, just so we identify what property we're looking at, because we look at so many. Here is the acquisition section. So this is all of our costs to purchase the property. So the purchase price, this is scenario A and B, right? And then here's your closing costs. This is where you enter in your escrow fees, your title fees. You might be guessing you know, when you're first getting into it, because you don't know until you have a settlement statement, preliminary settlement statement before you buy the property. But you can put, you know, best estimates. And then here's your points, right? So if you're using hard money, this is your points. And points are determined on the total loan amount. So if you look at the formula up here, it's 17, right? So that's our purchase price times 85%. So this means our hard money lender gave us 85% LTC, loan to cost. If they're giving us 80%, we change that to 80. Okay? That's the only thing you have to change in that, based on your LTC that you're getting from your hard money, and also the points, right? So on this one, we got charged 1.75 points. Okay, and this is E60 is the renovation budget. So if you're getting 100% of your renovation budget, then you just put 1, right? So the terms for hard money in this section is 80% of the purchase price, 100% of the renovation budget. Together, you're adding that together because it's the total loan amount, and then times your percentage that you're being charged for your points. So if it was 2 points, we would put 2, right? And then it changes. Okay, and here's all the other fees that your lender might have, you know, your other hard money fees. We pulled from, sometimes there's fund control, inspection fees, and then there's a section here where if you're buying it from a wholesaler, you can put in his fee, his or her fee here, you know, whether it's 15, 10,000. And if you're getting it direct, then you can put in an acquisition fee. You know, Kekoa and I, if the deal can support it, we'll put in like an acquisition fee to ourselves, or we pay ourselves a little bit on the front. Here's the next section is the renovation budget.
Hey, Cory, why don't we pause right there for just a second, and then just that front section, let's see if anybody's got questions on just the acquisition section. So anybody got any questions you want to either just ask live or throw in the chat on that whole, there was 3 sections that he first covered. Try roll up to the top, brah. The kind of the property information, and then the whole purchase price section, that's our acquisition section. Any questions on just how that first part works?
I can't see the chat in this mode.
Okay. I see the chat and nobody's chatting. It's all good. Oh, Cory, but you're muted.
Cory. Oh, I have a question.
Shoots.
What is a fund control fee?
Great question.
So most hard money lenders pay your construction funds in arrears, right? So if your budget is 100,000, they're not going to just give you 100,000 up front. They have to mitigate their risk, right? So you have to put up the first tranche of money. So let's say it's 25,000 and you're going to do 4 draws. So you have to put up the 25,000, they'll reimburse you. But they charge you a fee every time you draw because they have to send an inspector out there. Fund control is kind of like a third-party escrow where they're in charge of making sure that the scope of work is being taken care of, and the inspector is taking pictures of all the items that you have completed during the project to get the draw. So they charge a fee for that. Sometimes it's like $200, $250 or less sometimes. So the inspectors are not really licensed inspectors. They don't really know construction. Some of them, you know, like they just take pictures. But some of them are savvy, but some of them are just, you know, picture takers really. But they hold a lot of power for us because they decide whether they allow us to draw for a certain item or not. You know, so we like to build relationships with them and help show them like what we're doing and, you know, how the project's moving along. So that's a good question though.
That's
gotcha. Thank you.
Other questions in this first section? The first section of the purchase price is usually fairly straightforward. You can pull all that data from various sources, of course, during your transaction. It's the next couple sections that takes a little bit more dialing in and some research. So we can go there unless anybody's got any additional questions. Sweet.
Okay. So the next section is basically just your renovation budget, your scope of work, right?
I do have a question.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
About the points, is the 11,960. How many months is that? What's the period of time for?
So points is based off of the entire loan, a percentage of the entire loan amount. So it's not off the amount of months you're in. That's the interest rate.
Oh, okay.
We'll get to the interest rate later.
Okay.
But points is upfront payments.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're getting to the renovation budget or your scope of work, right? So you can either itemize it like this, right? Or you can just put in one budget here and then calculate. Because sometimes when you're making offers, if we're running like quick and dirty numbers, we might just look at the house. We haven't walked through it yet. We haven't taken bids yet. So we would just look at a house and be like, that looks like about $80,000, you know, give or take, right? So we'll just plug in 80,000 here and then run quick numbers, you know, basic, maybe 4 to 6 months holding time. And then what's our ARV, right? So with the scope of work, you can itemize it, you know, one by one and use this as your entire, you know, scope of work. Or we also have the other scope of work sheet that we put in the Facebook group with the draw schedule. So that scope of work Excel spreadsheet is what all of our borrowers use to submit their draws. It makes it easier for us because it has a draw schedule included with the scope of work sheet. So it makes it a little easier to communicate with your lender about where you are in the project, right? So maybe one day we can go through that, you know, worksheet as well if you guys need. But so for instance, this project, this was a real deal, by the way. I just took the property off because we ended up wholesaling this one. So this budget was like $300,000, right? So, but we're buying it for $375,000, right? We're paying anywhere from, we're getting 80 to 100 on this one, and we're paying 2 points, or 80 and 100 and 1.75. That's the options it's set to right now. The next section is holding costs. So this is like miscellaneous holding costs, like water, gas, electric, utility, you know, any utilities. And you can always add cells if you need to add more items. But this is your miscellaneous monthly holding costs. And this cell and this cell here, so E74 and F74 is where you put your holding times. So how many months, right? 6 to 8 months, or, you know, 10 to 12 months. We keep both. I usually keep column A as my best case, like conservative scenario, and then column B as my, like, I have to fire sale, like everything went wrong on it, you know? So then you can kind of see where your risk is at. You can compare sides, right? So ARV is put here, anticipated resale price / ARV. So this is where you put your ARV. And then here's where you put your realtor commissions, right? If your realtor is, you know, if you pay less percentage, like 4%, or if you pay more, you pay 6%, then you just change the formula up here, right? You guys understand that? So F78 is the sale price times 5%. So if your realtor is charging 5% because they're giving 2.5 to the buyer and they're taking 2.5 themselves, then you're paying 5%, right? So you need to know that number. And then also, are you covering the cost for staging and photography and cleaning, or is your realtor covering that, right? So if that's included in your 6%, then you would zero staging out, right? So all of this next section is your back end closing costs on the resale when you're exiting the property, when you're exiting the project. So you'll have to change these formulas depending on how much you're being charged, right? With your realtor. And then all of these you can kind of fill in yourself. We usually keep like 500 for property maintenance, because if you put in fresh sod, you know, and you gotta have somebody, or if you have like big trees, you gotta have someone rake the yard before open house every week, you know, you want to kind of budget that too, right? So because that stuff adds up, believe it or not. So here's your back end closing costs. And then these sections here is where we're going to have to tweak for hard money. So as you can see, this shows your net profit, right? And then your return on your private capital. Okay. Why don't we stop and ask questions real quick? Because that was kind of a lot. Anybody have questions on what we have so far? Okay.
Cory, I do have one. I have one question.
Yep.
To me, Carl. Can you hear me?
Yep.
What is the best way to find the ARV?
ARV, best way is you want to look at comparable properties that like same bed bath, or bed bath square footage, lot size, what type of view does it have. You want to find comparable houses in that neighborhood within like maybe what, a 3-mile radius or something.
Okay, 3 miles.
Yeah, or in the same neighborhood or on the same street if you can. The closer the better, right?
Yeah.
And then you want to find like at least 3 to 4 solid comps that have sold within the last 6 months or less.
6 months. Okay.
Yeah. Because that's what appraisers are. When you exit, appraisers are going to look at roughly that same criteria. Although they dive a little deeper, but you want to be in line with the appraisers, because even if you know, because you know that area so well, you know that you can charge this much. Even if you go on the back end and you find a buyer for that ARV because you know the market, but if it can't appraise at that level, then you might run into issues closing it, because they might have issues with if the appraisal doesn't align with the ARV, right? So yeah.
The other thing with ARV is if you're working with a realtor, sometimes you can train the realtor to bring you the deals with the ARV.
With the ARV.
Yeah, so that way, and the same with wholesalers, is as you get a great relationship with a broker or an agent or a wholesaler, just tell them when they bring you a deal, this is what you need, and you need 3 solid comps, ARVs, if you will. If you don't have a realtor and you're working with wholesalers and you're not a realtor and you don't have access to MLS, in Hawaii, highcentral.com is a really great site to run comps. It pulls all the MLS information. We found in the Northwest, if you don't have MLS access, Redfin is actually pretty decent, because with Redfin, you can kind of scroll into the geography of that vicinity of that property, and it'll show you all the solds in that vicinity. So that's a quick cheater way to kind of get at it if you don't have an actual access to MLS.
MLS, okay.
Yeah. Hey, Cory, Tay asked if you could scroll up a little bit. Okay. And then, Javon, did that answer your question about finding comps?
Yes, it did.
Perfect. Comps is comps are super important. But one thing that Cory and I continue to talk about pretty regularly throughout a week right now is, what is the market going to do? So if you're going to buy a flip right now, it's going to be a little bit more subjective analysis, where when the market was strong and things were climbing, you can look at comps, because a comp is a reflection of the market activity in the last several months of similar type of properties. The challenge that we're facing right now is that when we look on a national basis, Appraisal Nation, which is a friend of ours who owns that, they do appraisals throughout the country, and they're starting to see an indicator that's showing that in some markets already, appraisals are dropping. And so if we're going to be wholesalers, or if we're going to be realtors who are giving deals to investors, we'll need to make sure that if that's you, be conservative when you're going to go bring a deal to an investor. And if you're an investor looking at a flip, it's super sharp in this season to not just look at comps, but then to try to do a market adjustment for that value. I think Cory and I have talked a little bit about our market adjustment, is anywhere from 15 to 20% right now. So we're looking at deals that we're preferring deals at 50% of what ARV was based on the comps recently. So that's kind of our deal, because we don't have to buy. No one's putting a gun to our heads to say, you have to buy a house this month, you have to do a flip. So we're not in a rush to buy anything. So we're just being much more careful in case the market drops. Now, that's just our numbers. Some people may have more bandwidth to be much more hands-on on the flip. And if you're like Daniel was earlier and you're inside your flip every single day and you're monitoring the progress and pushing it quickly, then you may not have as much risk, because you might be able to get the house done next 4 weeks. Chances are in 4 weeks, the market may be pretty close to where it's at now, if not just slightly lower. Sometimes Cory and I do projects that take us over a year. And when it does, I mean, who knows what a year from now looks like. So we'd much rather be very, very conservative. So yeah, so that's just a point there. Let's see what other questions.
Yeah, and it's always good to have realtors give you their opinion, but never rely on that. Always pull your own comps, always take your own ARV. And even amongst our team, like sometimes I'll ask Layla or Layla, Kekoa, and then we all do it separately, and then we throw our spreadsheet on the table and we all look and decide from there. Because really putting ARV, we're all throwing darts, and some are better than others and stuff, but really nobody really knows. We're trying to be as calculated as we can, because nobody knows and we have to take calculated risks. So let's keep that in mind.
And don't share what you suspect the ARV to be before that person runs their comps, because then you have the confirmation bias where they're like, oh, it's worth 800, so let's see what comps can justify that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's good. Kata asked the question, 50% of purchase price plus reno or 50% all in. The dream would be you could get something at 50% and then also take the renovations off of that. That would be awesome, right? So obviously the cheaper you can get it, the better. And so this is just kind of our measurement. Obviously, from an investor hold perspective and then refinance out, you typically, or let's say traditionally, so this was pre-COVID, you could do a purchase. So what they used to be called a BRRRR, they're still called a BRRRR, but a little bit different now. So when you buy it, you rehab it, you put a renter in, you refinance it. Used to be you can refinance at 70% and then get your cash out. What's difficult in this generation of time with COVID is that sometimes that 70% is a little bit more loose. And so you got to be more conservative, and you try to want to do it the best you can to get such a great deal that you might be able to get all out of your deal. So if you buy it, you rehab it, you get renters in, and your cost is like 60 or 65% of conservative ARV, then you're in really good shape. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Brock. You want to add anything to that?
Well, yeah, just adding to that is right now, just got to be careful, because cash out refis are really hard to come by. They're tightening up on that side. So just check with your banker, like we kind of talked last call. Just check with your banker, your conventional broker, or whoever you're working with, to make sure that they can take you out when you're done with the project, the rehab. Yeah. Okay, so this is the final section in the spreadsheet. This one has a lot of things that you have to edit depending on your terms that you're getting from hard money. So let's start with this box here. So cash needed, this section here is basically going to tell us how much in gap funding we need to raise. So how much do we need to either come out of pocket ourselves or bring on private lenders to fill the gap so that we can close the deal behind hard money, with, hopefully no money out of pocket, right? So the first section here is the down payment, right? So we changed it to 80%, I believe. So now the down payment is 20%. So we'll put 0.2. Okay. So you don't have to change the E17, because all that's correct. All you have to do is change the number, the percentage, right? And then this is for reference. So now it's 20% on the loan is our down payment. So we have to raise 75,000. We're getting 80 and 100. So I got to change that to 80. And then this is the closing cost. So this is just pulled from E33, right? So which is at the top, I believe. Yeah. That's our closing cost, which includes the points and all the stuff we calculated already. And then loan payments. So this is the interest reserve to hard money. Okay, so this is how much we have to be prepared to pay hard money for the life of the loan. Now remember, we're only in this in section A, column A, our holding time is 6 months, right? So if we're paying, this formula is telling me that we're paying 10% from hard money. If hard money is giving you 9%, then it's 0.9, right? If they're giving you 9.5%, then it's 0.95, okay? And the way it's calculated is the total loan amount times your interest rate, whether it's 11%, 10%. For now, let's go for 10.5%. Let's say we're getting 10.5%. So that's 10%, 105, right? That's 10%, 10.5%. Divided by 12 because it's annual, right? And then times how many months you're going to be in the deal. Okay? So if we did it, sorry, where's my calculator? So if we did it with a calculator, right, it'll be, this is the formula it's calculating. Total loan amount, 590. Oh no, total loan amount is, sorry guys, hold on. What is my total loan amount? Total loan amount is, yeah, 598. Times 10.5% divided by 12, because so every month we're paying 5,200, right? 5,232 in interest just to hard money. So, and then that's a 6-month holding time. That is wrong.
Or you put 1.5% instead of 10.5.
Oh, that's what I did, huh?
No, on the spreadsheet.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. 10.5. There you go. Okay, so hopefully I didn't just confuse everybody. That one. I apologize. Okay, so this section for holding costs, that's miscellaneous holding costs. So that's your water, utilities. And then the last one is your construction in arrears, right? So remember, we're getting paid in arrears, so we need to come up with the first tranche of money. So if our budget is 200,000 and we want to do 6 draws, then we have to raise about 50 grand to do that, right? Because basically it's taking E60, our total budget, divided by however many draws you want to take, right? So if you don't have that much private capital and you're like, man, I might have to do like 10 draws or something to bring the amount raised down, then maybe that's what you got to do. But you have to check with your hard money lender too, because some of them will cap you at how many draws they want you to pull, even though you're paying the fee. Okay. I usually try to keep it maybe at like 3 to 4 draws. So if we did 4 draws, we got to raise 74,500. Okay, so this number here tells you how much you need to bring in private money or out of pocket as gap funding to close this deal. Not just to buy it, but to cover the interest payments to the hard money lender, to cover your cost to start the construction, to cover your monthly holding costs, and to cover your upfront closing costs, which is your points and your title and escrow fees, right? So the power about leveraging and using hard money is we can do a deal that would have cost us $203,000 plus about $600,000, about $800,000 to do the entire deal. We can control that asset for a fraction of the cost, like $200,000, right? All we have to do is bring in $203,000 to the table, whether it's your own money or private money, and we can do this deal and possibly net $240,000. Okay, that's the power of leverage. Now we have to be careful because there is such a thing as being over leveraged, right? And it can be dangerous. So just keep that in mind. Leverage can be a double-edged sword, but if you use it properly and you're calculated, then it can be very powerful. So now, just because we have to raise, it's telling us we need to bring in $203,000 to backfill this deal. I'm not going to raise $203,000. I'd rather raise $220. You know, that's my target. Okay, so when I'm doing my capital raise for this deal, my target is 220 or 230 possibly, right? Because it's always hard to bring in more capital in the middle of the project. You rather have it all up front, right? So I know once I have 220,000, we can close and we can do the entire deal. So sometimes hard money lenders will tell you we require a 6-month interest reserve, meaning you need to pay 6 months worth of interest up front to the lender, right? And people kind of him and haw and like, oh, I gotta pay that up front. To me, it doesn't matter because I'm bringing the interest to the table already. You know, I'm already including that in my raise from the start. And I suggest everyone else do the same, you know, because you don't want to be stuck in a project and then find out you don't have money to pay the hard money lender. That never goes well. So with, you know, interest reserve, if a hard money lender asks me for interest reserve up front, I don't care because I have that already. Otherwise, I'm not going to do the deal, right? So that's how I recommend, you know, everybody approach your acquisitions, is to be prepared to have the entire amount needed to close the deal and take it to the end zone, you know, before you buy it. And if you don't, then you got to back out and pass on it. That's my recommendation, right? Don't get stuck in something. So anyway, so does everybody understand how to work the formulas? It's very simple. Obviously I messed this one up. It was 1.5%. I've never seen 1.5% interest. So, you know, make sure you get the formulas right.
It'd be a dream come true if we could ever get that.
Yeah.
William is asking the question, what interest rate are you assuming for the private money lender? So what do we pay?
That is a good question. So this section here is where you edit your private money and hard money costs, right? So interest due to hard money lender, if you click on this, the formula will come up. So I need to fix this, right? Because we're not paying 10%, we're paying 10.5, right? And then this one is 10.5. Okay, so the number here is the percentage. So this is the number that you'll have to change. Oops.
And then you can change it based on what amount you want to pay your investors. So some investors will pay their investors 8%, and then I've seen some pay 12% and some higher. So it really is up to you on that particular deal.
Right. And so for interest due to private money lender, we usually typically pay 10 to 12%, depending on the deal. You know, if the deal can support 12%, then, you know, we'll offer that. We want our lenders to make great money with us, right? So if you're paying, like this one is 12%, we're gonna change it to 10. and you'll see the difference, right? Whether it's 10 or 12, it's a few thousand, couple $1,000 difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
If
Cool.
people
So
have questions, you guys can always, send us messages or post it in the thread, of the spreadsheet. If you have questions, you can ask it in the Facebook group under the thread with the spreadsheet, hopefully, so we can kind of keep it organized and all questions in one section. And then obviously you can always email us or something.
Yeah,
Hopefully
what
that was
about
helpful.
that's good. Any other questions from anybody about the deal analysis? Either you did such a great job or you lost everybody about 20 minutes ago.
I think the fortune
I had
builder
a question about the interest reserve. Sorry to interrupt, Corey.
No, go ahead.
I couldn't get off of mute quick enough. Interest reserve, how would you pack that into your calculator there?
So this is the interest reserve basically for the life of
You got to try share your screen, bro.
Oh, sorry.
All we see is your face. It's lovely, but we like to see the spreadsheet.
There we go. Okay, so you, Brian, what was your question? Interest reserve?
So the lending landscape changed, right? Because you guys require upfront reserves now, right? So you'd have to fund that at closing rather than making monthly payments, unless I'm reading this sheet as showing how much you would need in your reserve to make those payments over time. But I'm assuming your gap funding would be increased because you need more of a larger upfront
No, I'm glad you asked
capitalization.
I'm glad you asked that question in that way, because that's what I was talking about when I was talking about how we raise the entire interest reserve up front. So it doesn't matter what they require for me to pay interest reserve up front because I'm already accounting for it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes, sir.
I'm accounting for, like, let's say that it's a 12-month loan, right? And they require 6 months interest reserve. And I know we're going to be at 8 to 10 months or 6 months. I'm going to already have that 6 months in my gap funding. So I'll pay it up front. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so previously you would just have that money sitting in your checking account, and now it's just going to be reallocated to the hard money lender.
I try to line up my like Kekoa and I try to line up our gap funding, 100% of our gap funding before our inspection period ends, before our time where we can back out of the deal ends. Because if we pass, we call it in Hawaii J1 because it's the line item J1 inspection period. If we pass J1, then we're going forward. Like we're closing the deal. Like we're not, so by then we want to have our money raised, right? Before we clear J1. So once we clear J1, I already have the entire interest reserve set aside to do the entire deal. And if hard money wants half of that interest reserve because they want 6 months or 3 months, it doesn't matter to me because I already have that money set aside,
Cory, also on that note, that's actually really interesting. So during the inspection period, Cory and I not only do the fundraise, we also secure which hard money lender we're going with. We also secure our construction estimates. So during that period, what's interesting in Hawaii, J1 or the inspection period, typically 2 weeks or 14 days is acceptable. Washington, it's like 5 days, if not even 2 days. So the time frame is much shorter to get your stuff together and to get rolling really quickly. But it's always nice if you can do all of that in your inspection period, because that way, in case funding doesn't line up or your construction estimates are way over the budget, then you're able to get out of the deal and get your earnest money back. But typically what Cory and I like to do is to make sure that that spreadsheet that we just went through, when we look at a deal, when we first get it from a wholesaler or from whoever gets it to us, when you first look at it and you do that spreadsheet, you're doing the best you can to estimate. But by the time that inspection is over, Cory and I like to have 100% confidence in those numbers, and we validate those numbers during the inspection period. So I'm a little bit more, Cory's very, very detail oriented when it comes to those costs. So he's very much in those details of the hard money costs and the interest carry. I'm on the construction side because typically I'm the design person. So I'm the one who walks through with our contractors. Layla does that a lot now in Hawaii. But we're the ones who kind of dream it up. And sometimes we go over budget. And that's where when you've got a partnership, there's a balance because Cory's always questioning, well, why are we going so high in construction? And so we're always trying to dial that back in. So the lesson there is in your inspection period, do as much due diligence as you can so you have the opportunity to get out of it. We've gotten out of plenty of deals. As the realtors that work with us on this call, no, we don't take every deal down. Additional questions for private money lenders, when do you pay out the interest? We pay interest sometimes monthly. We also pay interest at the end of a deal and they get it lump sum. And then sometimes our investors don't even want to touch the money. They just want to keep rolling it. So they take the whole amount. So if they had 100,000 in and they made 10%, then at the end of that period, they would have made 110,000. And then they'll oftentimes tell us just roll the whole thing. Then we'll prepare new documents with that new total. So that's the answer to that one. Is 6 months a realistic time frame considering delays in permitting? That's a great question. I'll let you answer that.
I'd say it depends on the market you're in, right? If you're in Honolulu County and you got to pull permits, I'd say 6 is the minimum I would put just in case. 6 months, just in case. It's better to be conservative, right?
Well, and then I'll pull the curtain back and Cory will yell at me later if I'm telling you too much. But to be really honest, Cory and I have definitely underestimated on a couple of our projects. We put in 6 to 8 months, and then we've held projects sometimes as much as a year and just over a year because of permitting. So permitting is that one anomaly that you just have a hard time knowing for sure. Up here in Washington, we purchased a fire station. Holy smokes, how long have we owned that thing? Got to be over a year and a half now. We bought it on a fire sale, so it was great. The problem was that the city was selling it. And when they were selling it, they made us all the promises in the world that it'd be easy to transfer into a residential. And so the department that was selling it at the city level is different from the permitting section that would approve those permits. So one side was promising one thing, and then once we purchased it, then this side went away, and we now had to work over here. And so the permitting process took way longer than anybody had initially anticipated, which then you've got carrying costs, you've got a building that's sitting there getting dilapidated, that type of thing. So do the best you can. I think I share that more just because, we're all human and we're all gonna make a mistake. The question is, when you make a mistake, will you get back up and will you keep going? And Cory and I always made the commitment that we will always get back up, and no matter how much we would lose on a deal, we would always pay everybody back and we would just keep on going. And that philosophy has worked with us 100% of the time. We don't have every perfect deal. We'd like to say we make 100,000 on every single deal. It happens sometimes, and then it doesn't happen. But the key is that,
that's the plan, right?
Yeah, that's always our plan. Yeah. But it's okay. That's where a partnership is great. If it wasn't for Cory being a partner in everything we do, it's just like some days there's lonely nights where you're just like stressed out. You can't sleep because you're like, how much longer do we have to sit on this project? Or how am I going to get permits through? Or why is my contractor being so difficult? And why is everything going over budget? Having a great partner is great. But more than that as well is having a network like this where you've got people around. And I would just say that everybody that's on this call, it just seems like we've created really a camaraderie here, almost a team of people that will do deals together with. So just know that we're always available if you run into a hard place, because Cory and I have been there and we have had some really tough times on some deals, but it's just a deal and it's just a house, but it's the relationships that carry us long term. Sorry, it's Friday. My phone's going to keep blowing up. But anyways, I don't mean to be talking so much, but
everyone important is on this call. Well, actually, I mean, you got the fam, right? So
we've got the 60. We're renovating 60 some units right now. So it's like all the construction teams. Holy smokes, we're still going. Let's see. Finder fees is funded through PML that is raised. Oh, that's a great question. Are the finder fees?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's up to you, but I rather, yeah.
So the finder fees are paid out of the funds in the account. So we'll back it up a little bit higher. Cory and I create an LLC for every single property we buy. That LLC is named in the address of that property. Some investors create cool names for every single one of their properties. Cory and I are not that smart to remember which name goes with which property. So we're pretty generic. It's just 321 Apple Street, and that's it. The next one's the same. And then in that LLC, we create a bank account for that particular LLC. And that bank account then holds all the funds from the investors, our own personal cash, as well as any additional funds that are part of that project. And then we pay everything out of that, including finder's fees, contractor fees, permit fees. We just pay everything out of that account. So that's typically how we roll on that. Let's see. I think that's about all the major questions, unless anybody sees anything else. Anybody else got any other questions not in the chat? I think we got
I've got one if I can, Kekoa. Regarding funding on private money, do you raise private money for each individual build, or do you have like a rolling fund?
That's a great question. And it's actually perfect timing, Jim, because normally we just raise per project, but Kekoa and I have recently been trying to consolidate everything because it becomes, we spend a lot of time managing in our investors and what project are they on, what LLC. It's really a logistical burden when it's not consolidated. So we're looking into starting a fund that we can just roll our investors in, and then our fund will own or have collateral to the projects that we get into. So that's a good question, because you must know what it feels like to have to manage a lot of investors, a lot of projects. So
yeah, well, I mean, we're nothing like the size of you, nothing close to the size of you guys, but even just doing 2, 3, 4, 5, right. We're finding exactly the same thing. The stop, start. And the investor don't really want it. They're investing in us, and they just want to say, I want it for as long as I want it. And then if they want the money back, they can get it in a couple of months or so. Yeah. But to do it each and every time is getting a bit, if they invest $250,000, how do you know you're going to use exactly the $250,000? So you have this kind of rollover effect. And yeah, it's a nice thing. I wouldn't say a slush fund, but like a company fund as opposed to a project fund.
Yeah. We're actually making moves in that direction right now.
Yeah, we'll share with you our adventures on that, so that way you all can decide if you may want to all create your own as well. So there's syndications. Everybody's heard of syndications, and then the fund Cory and I are working on right now is a pre-syndication. The difference is a syndication is that a group will identify a property such as a certain apartment complex or a hotel, and then they'll raise funds to purchase that asset. So that's a syndication. A pre-syndication is where we don't know the asset yet, but we know that we have a united heart and a like-minded spirit in regards to what we want to go after in the real estate market. And so then we put the finances together, so that way we're able to then together go and acquire assets. So to your point then, is that we're not having to then try to take people from different projects and then build something, but we're already there and we're ready to go acquire an asset. So we're going to be building that fund here pretty quickly. And so as we go through that, we'll share the information that we get, so that way in case anybody else wants to do it, we'll share it with you, and we'll share with you our resources. In fact, if Jared's still on the call, we thank Jared for his referral to his attorney, because his attorney is phenomenal. So we love it. Thank you. Jared. We get just as much out of these calls as you all do. So thank you so much for sharing your resources and connections. But any other questions for Cory on the spreadsheet itself? I know a lot of you had asked different questions, so hopefully that really is helpful. Will you open your fund to non-accredited investors? That's a super good question. Cory and I just decided this week that we will open it to non-accredited investors. It's a very insightful question. When you start a fund, you have to decide one way or the other, because that's how it's regulated. And so we decided that we are, we're surrounded by people like ourselves, which are really ones that are learning and growing and hungry to do more. And so not all of us are accredited. So we wanted to make sure that we did a fund where we can bring all of our friends and our family to really join together. I always do that. You know, Cory, it's super funny. Up here in mainland, I still use Hawaii words for stuff, and people just stare at me. They're like, "What's a hui?"
I know. You said
But
choke, bro.
I know, right?
Don't know what choke is.
So anyways, yeah, so we're going to do that as a non-accredited fund. So it should be really interesting. And we'd love to share that with all of you and see how we can work together with you.
Yeah, that was a good question from me.
Super good question. Carolyn's got a question. Set up separate LLCs and bank accounts for each projects. How do you work with the legal and banking folks quickly enough to manage all of this together? That's
okay.
a great question.
So yeah, in Hawaii, Carolyn, it's easy. You can just go to Hawaii the BREG website and click on start. I want to start a new business and go through the wizard. You'll have to pay like $70 or something like that. And then you'll get approved, you know, if that name that you're trying to name the LLC doesn't already exist. And then bank accounts, you just need your LLC docs, your EIN, and your articles of organization, operating agreement, COGS, certificate of good standing, right? Take that to the bank to open up your bank account under that business. So I think that's what you're asking. How do you work with the legal? I don't think you don't have to get legal involved. Like, I know you guys went through the Fortune Builders, training, and they have a deal with Nevada, the Nevada Corp companies. So that's different. I don't know. I definitely don't have to go that route again for these LLCs, because these are kind of like disposable LLCs that you're going to be using just for that, right? And then closing them down. But
I'm muting. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to unmute a second. So to answer that question as well is, as you do more and more deals, you're gonna start understanding how to create the LLCs on your own and quickly. So you won't need an attorney. Carolyn, I have a feeling you're asking kind of in a sense, how do you create some of these entities and not have to get lawyers involved and such? But you can pay lawyers. You can also pay online services to create an LLC. But Cory and I will show you how to do it for free in 5 minutes or less from your computer. And it's just super quick and it saves you a ton of money. I think it's like $200 right now. Cory, go ahead.
Every state is different too, right? But if you're in Hawaii, we have operating agreements and that templates that you guys can use. You just ask in the group and we'll put it out there. But honestly, if you get like a Rocket Lawyer account or something simple like that, where they have wizards, and you can filter it to what state you're in to make sure it's compliant. Like that kind of Legal Shield or Rocket Lawyer account is good for that kind of stuff, right? Because otherwise, if we were to call our attorneys, like $500 an hour or something, it's like, I just want a contract, or I just want an operating agreement, like you can download one off the internet too, but you want to make sure it's compliant with the state that you're doing business in, right? So
that's
if
awesome.
it's Hawaii, we can help you out. Like, I have a Rocket Lawyer account, so if you guys need me to pull something for you, I can do that too. So no problem.
Are you setting up a single member LLC each time? Because you guys are partners. So you probably have an LLC together, and you're setting up a subsidiary LLC that's single member LLC each time for each property?
Correct. Yeah. So our main our branded company, Lwin Nemoto Investment Group, owns all of these little companies. So the little companies are single member LLCs.
Yeah, and that's why it's easier. You don't have to go through the process of figuring out what to put in the docs because it's a single member LLC.
That's correct. But even if you're not a partnership, you could still, all of us can create an LLC that's kind of your mother LLC that then purchases the other properties. So that way you have something consistent. So yeah, great question. All right,
Troy
so
has a good question.
I'm sorry.
Troy has a good question. Do you recommend something more robust if you're gonna be in it for a long term, or if it's a syndication or something long term? Then yeah, I think you should set something up. Pay the $500 for your attorney to look at it and draft it for you. That's what I would say, because that's a long term investment. You want to make sure you're gonna be squared away, especially if it's a syndication and there's other people in the deal.
Yeah, That's great. Great questions. Does the disposable LLC own the property, facilitate? Okay, I think we touched base on that question. So I think we're good. So the disposable,
Yeah.
we don't use, go ahead, Corey.
Okay, does Lloyd's asking, does having a disposable LLC own the property facilitate the sale at completion? Facilitate the sale at completion. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Lloyd. Can you elaborate?
Maybe he's asking about, do we dissolve the LLC to then help protect us? The answer is technically that, yeah, so Corey, take it.
Yeah, actually, before we would dissolve the LLCs, these disposable LLCs, but then I spoke to an attorney recently who's a friend of mine, who's the attorney for the board of realtors, actually. And he recommended we don't close it, because if we close it, then the only recourse is to come after us directly. So I have conflicting information now, because that was recent, like that was this year. I met with him and he said that, because I asked him, you know, if things have, I always want to see if things have changed and stuff, the way we're organizing everything. And he said, I told him we close the LLCs down, we close the bank accounts, we wipe our hands and we move on. And he was saying, well, why do you close it down? Maybe you should keep it open, because if you keep it open, then, you know, and if whatever reason somebody tries to say that we did wrong by them or the property, that they will sue the LLC, the single member LLC, not us individually or not our branded company. So I don't know, actually, now that I have conflicting information. If anybody else knows, would love to hear, you know, their thoughts on that.
We don't have the definitive answer, but we have LLCs, but they're set up through Nevada and they're rolled over. So we had 3 LLCs under one contract and we just changed the names. So it's continuous. I don't know if it's better, but it's cleaner, but it's expensive.
Yeah.
And if you want to close those LLCs, it's expensive too.
There is reasons why Fortune Builders goes through Nevada. Like the state of Nevada has good protection, right? And privacy with companies. So I don't know if if you're as exposed as us who form single member Hawaii LLCs, you know, but the reason why we do it is for asset protection and basically cleaner accounting. So like money comes in and out of one account, like that property is owned by that LLC, right? Because what we don't want to do is have our branded LLC, our branded company, own all of our projects, and for whatever reason, you know, somebody feels that they've been wronged and puts a lawsuit. Now all of our assets are at risk, you know. So and then plus someone can just file a lawsuit on anybody, and then it's public record, and our branded companies out there now saying we've been sued or whatever. So we try to protect that as much as we can, you know what I mean? So if that means that we have to set up, you know, single member LLCs for every property, then we will, you know, for that.
Now, those are great questions. Let's we've got a long time. I can't believe it's already 2:30
yeah.
Pacific time. So we'll wrap it up for now. I know there's some really good questions. We can also, Corey and I are monitoring the Facebook page. So if you do have other questions throughout the week, go there as well, KÉCŌ Exchange. It's a great opportunity for us to just continue the conversation. And there's just some really good questions that we definitely want to probably address in the future.
I want Alex to speak on real quick, because I know we're heading out, and I think he's on the other line. He's taking down deals probably. But I want Alex, can you briefly talk about the new commercial product, the commercial bridge product that we have for lending? Because this might help a lot of you guys who are going after multifamily properties. It's 100% financing. I've never seen a product like this before. So, and they're very aggressive. So Alex, you wanna?
Yeah. So good to see everyone. As always, it's a pleasure to get to speak with you all and tell you about a new exciting product that involves with money. So we can do 100% financing. It's going up to 75% of the stabilized assets value. Okay, more so looking at multifamily really on this and like shopping centers. Not really going to be done for any mixed use properties. I wouldn't say, maybe as long as it's more residential. But again, 75% of stabilized value. We're not worried about as is. We'll do 100% of purchase. We'll do 100% of rehab, and we'll do 100% of closing costs as well. So it's truly a no money down loan. There is a $10,000 deposit to escrow that is refundable. Out of that $10,000, we will have some closing costs you pay for, like such as appraisal and small things like that. Anything that is not utilized out of that $10,000, say we didn't close, would be refunded. But there will be a site visit by the principal. That's our capital partner on this one. He'll walk the property with you, take a good look at it. Needs to be experienced. If they're a new client and you're looking for a property, we need to pair you with somebody that is experienced, and they're going to have to be a partner, at least 25%. This is full recourse, and there is no extensions on this loan. So we want 9 months fully stabilized, and you're exiting in 12. No matter what, but we can also help you on your exit. You want to add anything, Cory?
No, this is a great product, and like, it's expensive. Did you talk about that yet?
No, I didn't. Okay, so the rate is 11%. You're looking at 11% rate and 7 points. Just count
5
on
to 7.
Yeah.
So it's expensive, but the good news is if you put it in the deal analysis, like what Cory just showed you, that's what Cory and I will do, is that if we get a great deal and we're like, hey, we all of our private money is in a certain location right now, and we have to close on this thing in 10 days, then we may go this route. We'll just calculate in 11%, we'll calculate the cost. And if the deal still makes sense, the deal makes sense, and it's 100% funding. So it's very unique, it's very interesting. Cory and I don't usually we're not afraid of larger origination fees or larger interest, so long as the deal still makes sense. So it's all in the buy, it's all in the purchase, it's all making sure you negotiate a great purchase price. But then what Alex said is important is that this is for experienced investors. So it goes to say over and over again is that if you're not experienced, it doesn't mean you're out of luck. It means you've got to partner with somebody. So find somebody in your market that you can partner with. Even if you do nothing but just sign on with them and you're just part of the loan or part of the program or part investor, it allows you to say that you did a deal. And then that builds your resume, because then when you get a deal that you want to do on your own, you can, and then all kinds of funding opens up. So again, on this call, we've got so many great investors. So if you're new and you're just ready to get going, find somebody that you like, somebody that you trust, and then just tell them, hey, I just want to jump in because I need the experience. It builds your resume, and then opportunities like Alex just shared becomes really easy, because it's weird, but the more you do, the more access you have to deals and the more access you have to cash. And so it's really interesting, but yeah, that's awesome. Alex, any?
Yeah, Scott just mentioned, he just reminded me, just texted me on the side, like the points can be rolled into the loan.
Everything's rolled in, as long as
it sounds expensive, and it is, because one way or another you're paying that percentage, but you don't have to come out of pocket for it. As long as the deal is good enough where 75% of the ARV or the stabilized asset, the loan amount doesn't exceed that. If you're buying it that low, you can wrap the interest payments, the interest reserve, the points, everything into the loan, so you're not out of pocket. The only thing you got to come out of pocket for is the 10 grand deposit, which is refundable if you don't close for whatever reason. It's refundable up into a certain amount, because some of that goes to cover the cost of the site visit from the principal of our capital partner.
Also, guys, 6 to 9 months of interest reserve is rolled in, no more than 9 months. So at some point you will be making a payment if you go over the 9 months of the loan. But also,
Alex, how much experience is experience? How many deals would they have had to do or done in order to qualify?
They want to, I think what they're really worried about is a similar experience of that deal structure. So if you've done 10 fix and flips, but you've never done a 20 unit multifamily, they're going to want you to have experience with someone that's done a multifamily and not count that experience from all the regular flips. So they want you to have experience in what you're trying to execute. and at least 1 or 2 similar projects.
Yeah,
and they gotta work with good people, like everyone on this call. Like he's turned down deals because the guys that he was working with was a jerk, you know, and I don't blame him. You know, I'd do the same, you know. So like it's really, he said, consider them as like alternative equity partner without even like they're not taking equity, but consider them like a alternative equity partner because they wanna. It's really. It's true kind of private money that's operating like hard money capital. So it's a new partner of ours, and we already have, I think, 1 or 2 that's going to be closing. One of them in Tennessee that we're going to be taking out to him. So
it's pretty
we'll
good
keep stuff updated on everything, but keep that in the back of your mind. It's not just multifamily, it's commercial, retail, office. I think he said industrial. Did he say industrial or no?
Hey, I know of a marijuana operation in Alaska that needs some funds.
Yeah.
That one.
Right on. Thanks, Alex. Awesome. Well, we've gone super long. I don't know if it's just because we're all, tired of doing anything else and we just like to hang out. But we'll wrap it up right here. Deal size limit. There's no limit. It has to just make sense. Again, experience is everything. To respond to that question. But yeah, thanks everybody for an awesome week, and hopefully everybody's doing well. We'll just kind of officially wrap it up here, so that way in case anybody really feels bad leaving, you can definitely leave and not feel bad. And then we'll probably hang out here for just a little bit longer if you've got questions. And then throughout the week, if you've got questions, please hit us up on Facebook, and we'd love to try to answer those questions. Justin out of Sarasota, Florida monitors that Facebook page all week long. And so he's able to let us know if there's a good question or you're facing a deal that you want us to evaluate, or if you've got a deal and you want to try to check out this 100% financing, just let us know. We'll definitely do everything we can. So I think on our side, we'll just kind of officially wrap it up. Cory, great job, bro. Nice job on running through that deal analysis. It was awesome. And nice haircut. You look much better.
I know. Thank you for everybody making the comments in the chat.
Well, they said it was a nice haircut. They didn't say it was beautiful, but they said it was a nice haircut.
He is just so sexy. So sexy.
I know. My guy.
3 studs in a muffin.
I'm not sure who the muffin is or the stud.
Thank you.
It still sounds weird no matter how you put it, but all right, Cory, any departing words?
No, I gotta head to the office. So usually I hang around to talk story after, but I gotta get going today, guys. I'll see you in the Facebook group, and then I'll see you next Friday.
Yeah, same. Thanks, everybody. Again, let us know if there's anything else that we could do for you. Otherwise, aloha. Have a great week.